There's some nice peaceful music for you, leading into Plug and Play, an NFL Draft podcast. Show, a podcast. Hi, I'm Jeff Cavanaugh. I'm in Colorado in a condo. Bryan Broaddus is at 105.3 The Fan headquarters. What's up, Bryan?
Man, what are you doing with this music, man?
It's you got to use.
I was like almost like my head was like nodding. I thought I was getting a massage or something like that, listening to some kind of music like that. It was pretty good.
I had to pick one that was 60 seconds to give me time to set up all my things, especially considering I forgot to change the name from last time. So a lot of people are going to see the title as Jeff Cavanaugh Show Episode 2. But can I alter that on the fly?
Yeah, we're all good, man. We're good.
Bryan Broaddus.
Yeah, we're all right. Hey, what are you doing in Colorado, man? You trying to get that pick? You trying to talk about that Broncos pick there? What do you got going, man? You trying to?
Yeah. I'm working on some moves. We're gonna make some moves. The Broncos have picks, and I'm trying to trade down and up, and I'm trying to make. No, it's somebody's birthday.
Cool.
But I took the last 90 minutes off of drinking to be able to pull this off, and then.
So is this going to be the Broaddus draft show? Is this what this is going to be?
No, dude, I'm so ready. I got so many questions from people.
You look ready, Jeff. I can see in the screen those eyes. You look ready.
I got a lot of questions from the people for you. It's Combine Week, for crying out loud. We can't miss this.
So you went west instead of going east, is what you're telling me then, right?
I went west, and everybody's at the red line.
Go west.
I'll be there in a little bit. Bobby said,
the best show.
Bobby said, not Bobby Bell, party at Jeff's cabin. How many fireballs today? I've had 2.5.
How many? Let me see if I get this right. How many Miller Lights?
4.
What?
I think. We rode a party bus. Instead of getting rental cars, we had a party bus pick us up at Denver Airport, bring us to Vail.
That's a long drive, too.
So it was like 2 hours and change of just whatever we had. And we had, fireball and beer. And so that's that. Right. And no, I'm not smoking weed. I hate THC. It makes me paranoid. But I support all of you out there that do. Please and thank you, Mark, for saying, Bryan, what's with all the questions?
That's true.
King Shadow, who literally just sent a message that says Skye Moore. How you doing today, Bryan? It's good to see you, brother.
Good to seeing you again, brother. I've followed along the last couple of days. Congratulations on a very good launch. You're well on your way. Outstanding guests, and just really, really, as always, really happy to be a part of this one on a Wednesday night as we look forward to this draft a little bit.
So send in your draft questions for us. We have the combine going on right now, and the only things that I've really taken away from it so far is that Treylon Burks, the Arkansas wide receiver, he wears 4XL gloves, which just moves him higher up my board. If you have giant hands, you immediately move up my board. And that Malik Willis, the Liberty quarterback, is interviewing incredibly well. Other than that, I'm just waiting for people to start running and jumping.
Yeah, Jeff, I'll tell you something, too, talking about your Arkansas receiver. There's a lot of folks that thought that maybe that he was going to run in the low 4.4s. And you're starting to hear some whispers that maybe he'll run well, but maybe not in the low 4.4s. So we'll see. I mean, everybody was kind of talking about maybe there would be a 4.39, 4.40, 4.41 kind of a speed. But I'm just hearing some whispers of like, maybe not this time around. People will head out there to Fayetteville and work the kid out. He'll probably run well in the, what everybody thinks. But, man, he's just physically, you talk about the 4XL hands and stuff like that. And, everybody wants to make him that next Deebo Samuel because if you look at how he plays at Arkansas, he plays that style. They line him up at receiver. They line him up in the slot. They put him at wing. They bring him across. It's the jet sweeps. It's the straight pitches out of the backfield. The guy is more than physical enough to handle the workload that way. He's got toughness and all that to handle that as well. So pretty good comparison when people are looking for that type of player.
Soto Man says, question for Bryan.
Yeah.
How do you evaluate wide receivers when their quarterbacks or offenses aren't ideal? I believe
Yeah.
Rashad Bateman was in that conversation last year, and
Yeah.
George Pickens could be an example this year.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, and that's the problem. I mean, and if I could, flip it, flip it the other way too for quarterbacks playing with receivers. If going back, you and I, Jeff, evaluated Josh Allen, and I'm not just bringing up the name of Josh Allen because we've had some differences, but Josh Allen was throwing to cattle ranchers, he was throwing to pharmacists, he was throwing to.
Easy.
Well, I'm just saying that's true. I mean, he was throwing to players that, when he got to the combine or to the Senior Bowl, he was throwing to better receivers. That's just a fact, and no disrespect to Wyoming's wide receivers, but literally, I mean, once you play, your career goes on to something else. You go back and you're like, hey, I played with Josh Allen, but I also run, 75 head of cattle out here now too. So I mean that's reality, and a lot of that has to do some of these receivers, and you'll watch this at the combine. They put these guys in alphabetical order how they work out, and some of these quarterbacks might look really, really good throwing the ball because they're throwing the ball to receivers in alphabetical order that might be the top receivers in the country, or they might catch a guy that can't handle a ball that's a little behind him, and it looks like, oh, there's a drop, there's a bad pass, there's this, that, and the other. So yeah, when you're evaluating, you do look at things. That's one of the things clearly when I was talking about Josh Allen. I mean, I knew who Josh Allen was throwing to, and that actually helped my evaluations.
Yeah, and I think, and I don't say this to like bring down anybody who does this for a living, but like if you're out there and you watch football and you can get a hold of ways to watch these college games,
Yeah.
I think you can get a decent handle on what guys do. Like when people ask me, like, hey, how do you scout insert position here? I'm like,
Right.
well, you know what their jobs are, right?
Right.
So watch them play.
Right.
And does he, if it's an offensive lineman, can he pass protect or
Right.
can he not? Why or why not? Can he run block or not? Why or why not? And so, like, if you have a wide receiver with a bad quarterback, I think you can still see, can he get open?
Right.
Why or why not? How quick is he? How fast is he? How nuanced is he? How good is he at convincing you he's doing something he's not? And
Right.
when the quarterback finally throws him a good pass, does it look
Yeah.
like he gets the ball well? Like,
No,
you
that's
figure things
true.
out.
That's true. I mean, there's some of these kids that go to these schools and they're clearly, maybe they go to these small schools and then all of a sudden, they just didn't get scouted. They should be playing, say they're playing at, one of these, the Western Michigans or whatever. Maybe they should have been going to school at Purdue. Maybe they should have gone to school at Michigan State. Maybe, they're good enough to play maybe in a higher level, but you got to evaluate, the talent around them. And are they bringing the players up? Are they bringing the quarterbacks up? Are they, like you said, are the routes where they need to be? Are they making like spectacular plays on some of these balls? I mean, I think that's a real big factor in what goes into the evaluations.
Okay, next we have from WM Tyler Dallas. With all the intriguing players in the day two range, are either of you more interested than you otherwise would be in trading way back and building draft capital for next year? Okay, we're getting ahead of ourselves. He says, I really want Jalen Carter or Will Anderson. And you're not wrong there. Is Jalen Carter, the defensive tackle at Georgia, is a freaking stud.
Yeah.
And Will Anderson, the pass rusher at Alabama, they would be the top pass rusher and the pass defensive tackle in this draft if they were allowed to come out, but they can't. I'm always interested in trading down, but it's all the same game, right? Do I have a first-round grade left? Is there just one of them? Because you're going to trade away from that? I mean, this scenario, without knowing who's available and what you're moving back and planning to do, I think it's hard to do. But, man, I would love to have a high top pick next year with a couple of the defensive studs that are going to be in that draft.
Yeah, I tell you what, though, Jeffrey, and you're absolutely right about that. The thing that I'm excited about is as I look at my board is the number of grades that I've got with guys that are second and third and fourth round grades. I'm kind of interested if you're going to go backwards. I'm kind of interested in picking some of these guys.
Oh, yeah.
I think that, I don't see any area where I just kind of look, I don't see any area where I go, man, that's a little weak right now. Now, depending on what you think about outside linebackers, that might not stretch as much as you really like. I mean, the inside linebackers I think are fine, but Asmora, Muma, Brandon Smith, all those guys, those are kind of like third round guys for me right now. Tyndale, Chanel. I mean, I'm just looking at linebackers, but they're all kind of in that little pocket of like third round guys. So to me, if you're looking at second round, maybe not as much in that position, but the others across the board, the safeties, the corners, the edges, the running backs, if you want to go that route, the quarterbacks, the guards. I mean, man, if you got the fun part of this draft might be in that second and third round value, because I think that's where you're going to get some really good guys.
I love the second and third round. Day two.
I do. Me too. I really do. I do.
Trace Yarbrough, thanks for the super. He said, what about local receiver Jarrett Stearns? Led all of FBS in receiving and didn't receive a combine invite. Might be because he's undersized, but kid has hands. I'm not familiar with him yet, and I'd like to apologize to you for that. But be patient.
I haven't seen Stearns either as well. I mean, I've got about 110 guys done, and I'm working my way down through some of these guys. I'll tell you what, though, I did see a really kind of an interesting kid last night, though, the kid Robinson from Kentucky.
Wandale? Yeah, I saw him.
Yeah, and when you start talking about like all these wide receivers have all kind of got, you got them in different, of course everybody has them in like different rounds and kind of stacked in there, but I'm really excited because now when I look at guys in that third and fourth round, the Wandale Robinson from Kentucky, I mean, here's a guy that's 5'10", 187 pounds. But, I'm still seeing quality. I'm still seeing the quality of the wide receivers. Justin Ross was another one from Clemson. Here's a guy that was very highly touted type of a player who suffered an injury and missed a whole season. But, man, you talk about the depth, at least now, third, fourth round. And then I guarantee you we're going to be sitting there in the fifth round, and there'll be some guys just like the receivers and stuff that you mentioned of players that probably can help football teams right now.
Well, Brian, I'm going to get to Jarrett Stearns because this dude at Western Kentucky last year had 150 catches for 1,900 yards.
I've seen him play. Because I was watching the quarterback. And you're not wrong about, I mean, again, it wasn't one of those things like every time that quarterback went back, Zappy, every time he went back, he was throwing the ball to Stearns. I mean, every single time. And I'm like, but it wasn't to the point where I was studying the route releases and things like that. But he's got a brother that also plays. There's two of them that play at Western Kentucky, and they're both really good football players. So, yeah, I mean, I haven't studied him to the point of, like, okay, route release and separation, all that stuff. But I'll say this, every time the damn ball went in his direction, he was making a catch.
Preston wants to know, Brian. He says, Brian's giving credit to Steven for holding draft personnel accountable. Who's holding him accountable for the past extension negotiations?
You know what? I saw that question as we were kind of getting ready as the show.
No one. That's the Cowboys dynamic. He's the boss.
Yeah. That's the thing. The thing I always know about Stephen Jones when I worked with him in the draft meetings was that he was always asking the scouts the questions of why. And he would always go, wait a minute. Yeah, yesterday you told me this. Yesterday you said this. Now you're comparing this guy to this guy. Why do you like this? That was the accountability that Stephen Jones had. And so, yeah, I mean, the contract stuff and all that with the cap, man, that's, Adam Pacifica's on that. Todd Williams is on that. I mean, they've got guys that are trying to kind of manage that. But there are some of these contracts. I know today we've talked about that, would Blake Jarwin, would Dalton Schultz be given a franchise tag? That's kind of the Cowboy way. It's like, oh, well, let's create space instead of signing Wilson or sign somebody else. Oh, well, let's just give the money to Dalton Schultz. I mean, that's kind of the Cowboy way of doing things. To be honest with you, I kind of expect that to happen.
Yeah. Dro Super Chat says Smoke Monday, later rounds, Cowboys. I have got to get on my safety horse when I get back in town. But I love Smoke Monday's name.
Smoke's a good player.
I generally love Auburn DBs. So
yeah. No, you can watch Smoke play, and here's a guy that, man, he gets it. That guy's a leader. He's tough. He's around the ball. He tackles well. You can tell on tape he's really smart. I mean, when they make the adjustments and things like that. I mean, this guy's a really good football. I really overall like, and Jeff, I think we've talked about this a little bit too, that we like this safety class right now. We like what's at the top of the board. We like what's kind of in the middle of the board. If you're looking for, and there might be some of these corners that people flip and go ahead and make safeties out of them as well, which would even add more depth to the group.
So safety, and because this is a question that somebody asked I tweeted out for questions, and you mentioned safety. And another place that I really do kind of like him, and you mentioned this a little earlier, is at linebacker. Now, It depends how they come off the board and in what round, because somebody was like, hey, give me linebacker names for the first round, second round, third round.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, you got names. The first round, I think we've gone over it many times, right? Nakobe Dean and Devin Lloyd, those are names you need to know for the first round. The second round, I really like Skyy Moore at Georgia. I think that's a dude that flies around and makes plays, and he's a fluid enough athlete, and he's full size that he could be good in coverage. Christian Harris at Alabama in the second round.
Good player. Really
might be
good
worth
player.
a look. And then a bunch of the names you named. Chad Muma. Asamoah at Oklahoma, if you're looking for a dude that can fly and can do things in coverage others can't just because he can fly. Asamoah at Oklahoma. I think it's a really fun linebacker group, probably through the third round to me.
Yeah, we talked about the Chenal, the kid at Wisconsin. I think I said his name.
He's like the juggernaut. I don't know.
He's an old school, school linebacker. Clark from LSU, I really, really like a lot as a physical guy, because the question came up of like, who are some of these Mike linebackers? Who are some of these big guys? And you're talking about those guys that are like 245 pounds and that like they go downhill and they tackle well. We've talked about Nakobe Dean a bunch. I mentioned Christian Harris at Alabama. I mean, that's another really, really good downhill player. Lloyd, I've mentioned a bunch from Utah, Tyndall from Georgia. I mean, these are guys that all are big, with the exception of Dean as far as height goes. Weight-wise, all of them really good, and all of them are really pretty physical players. And, there's guys that have, like the Wisconsin linebacker might not be the most fluid guy in coverage, but you talk about tackling, being around the ball and stuff like that. I mean, you can, of all these guys we just mentioned, you're going to be able to find you one of those tough inside linebacker guys that are going to make some plays for you.
Chenal, the Wisconsin guy that you're talking about, is 6'2". He's every bit of 260.
Every bit.
He just wants to hit people. That's all he wants.
No, that's what I'm saying. I mean,
20 years ago, he's a first-round pick.
Yeah, and my first line of my notes is a throwback linebacker in the way he plays. He's a big, physical, downhill player. He's always attacking the line of scrimmage. He makes his share of tackles right at or behind the line of scrimmage. The guy can finish. And, I see a guy that does have the instincts and awareness and stuff. That's what you want him doing. You want him going forward. You want him attacking people. You want him stopping in the run game. Again, pass coverage, there might be a little bit of some liability there, but I'm not, maybe 10, 12 years ago, you're right, Jeff. This guy's probably one of those linebackers that everybody's like, my God, see that guy, see how big he is, see how tough he is, see how, he's that guy playing in this era right now.
Bobby Belt in the super chat. What do you think of, I'll just read the words, Jeffrey Sherwood hyphen Lovehead? Bobby, I'm not familiar with that player, and I'm not going to read that any differently than I just did, because I know what you're trying to do. You're a sick puppy.
Yeah.
How do I get this is Soto, man? How do I get Dane to put 4 quarterbacks inside his top 25? I need options at 24.
Yeah.
That's one of those things during a draft where it's like every time a quarterback goes off the board, you'd be like, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Can I get a running back or a tight end off this board? Come on, baby. The positions that you don't want.
It ain't going to happen. The run that you might need. Now, depending on what happens with Tank, if you're a Cowboys fan, I'm speaking from
or edges.
I'm speaking from Cowboys fans' perspective. If you're a fan of another team, just bear with me a little bit. But if something happens to Tank where they don't see eye to eye and then they move on, I don't know. They might not. But if something happens with Randy. Now, if you're set in those positions, if you're set at the defensive end spots, maybe if you're a Cowboy fan, the one thing you want to start to happen is all those defensive ends start going off the board. And then maybe those cornerbacks going off the board. You know what I'm saying? So maybe
get a D tackle off the board. Maybe
exactly. That's what I'm saying. So you need a position. If quarterbacks are not going to be the run, then you need a position that you're not going to need. If say, like I said, Cowboy fans, if you got Tank, if you got Randy taken care of, then you're probably not looking at defensive ends too strong right now. So go for that run. Boom, boom, boom. All those defensive ends go off the board. Maybe some of those corners go off the board too, and that can kind of drive some guys your direction depending on what you're looking for.
King Shadow said Smoke Monday's got a J-Ron Curse player comp on Draft Network, and I tell you what, if he's J-Ron Curse, he's going to help the football team because that dude can thump and cover tight ends.
Absolutely.
Vance, with Zeke fading and Pollard do a new deal, any backs you like in the mid-round area? I hate running backs, so I haven't watched a bunch yet, but the Pierce kid from Florida jumped out at me at the Senior Bowl because he can freaking run, he's tough, and he can pass protect. If the Cowboys took like a 4th-round running back, I wouldn't be shocked. I don't know the range that he goes in yet, but if you took like a 4th-rounder or something like that, I wouldn't be shocked.
Yeah, I've got a bunch of guys like Hall from Iowa State. I don't have a 1st-round running back on my board, but not to say that the league won't take one. But with Hall at Iowa State, I think is a really, really good player. He holds the NCAA record for most consecutive games with a rushing touchdown. 6'1", 220 pounds. I mean, it doesn't matter where you hand him the ball. He finds ways to score from any points on the field and stuff like that. He'll make guys miss tackles. I like Spiller from Texas A&M, catches the ball really, really, really well. There's another guy that's 6'1", 215 pounds. Kenneth Walker from Michigan State is another one of those guys. He's a really rocked up kind of, he's 5'10", he's 212 pounds, compact, stout. I mean, you talk about some start-stop quickness with some burst. And, there's times where you watch him play, he appears trapped, and then boom, he's able to get the edge and then be out of all that. So those are kind of some of the initial running backs that I've seen. I think those guys are all kind of in that 2nd-round range. And like Jeff, like you were talking about jumping on safeties, I need to kind of find a way to get some of those mid round running backs knocked out.
They're running backs. When they get picked, just say, hey, I think if you could block for him a little bit, man, he could make some plays. They're running backs. Bradley, thoughts on Jakari Roberson, wide receiver from Wake Forest? I don't know him yet. I'm a bad scout. I apologize. I'd like to thank Kevin Gray Sports for being in here. Make sure you guys follow Kevin Gray. He's a good friend of ours, and he's a hell of a broadcaster and a sweet, sweet man. Thank you for being here, KG. You're a beast. Tyrannosaurus Rex just says, hey, I'm super chatting because Broaddus. So thank you for that.
Appreciate that. Thank you very much.
William Reeves jumping in there just to jump in there. Juan Castle wants to know, how real is Skye Moore at 24? Look, I will not apologize. When I find a guy I love, I will not back off of my love. Look at here now. Skye Moore I don't think will be the pick at 24. But this is a bold prediction because no one else.
Can I ask you a favor?
Hold on a second. When I'm talking about Skye,
I just want one favor. I want one favor. I want you to reach next to you and take that Miller Lite that's sitting down next to you. And right before you talk about Skye Moore.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Is that my Wi-Fi or yours? Oh, God. Can you guys still hear me?
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm here, man. You there?
Oh,
Hello.
yeah, you said I didn't know whose Wi-Fi cut out, but you said something about grab the Miller Lite and Skye Moore, and that's all I
Yeah,
got.
yeah. Can you? I want to see you take a pull off your Miller Lite and then talk about Skyy Moore. Is probably what I want to do.
All right. Hold on.
There we go. Now I feel ready. Tell me about Skyy Moore.
Skye Moore's my guy now. Skye Moore, I don't think he'll go in the first round. But I think all this hating with this fourth round stuff, no. Skye's going to go in the second, hopefully to the Cowboys. But if he goes before the Cowboys, you can't be too mad because I warned you. If you could get him in the third round, I'll throw a pizza party and shotgun a beer on plug and play. But if you get him in the second round, I'll just throw a pizza party. Skye Moore is my guy. That's my wide receiver, okay?
I appreciate you doing that for me, Jeff.
If you can get releases on anybody and you can get separation on anybody and you're tough after the catch, you're my guy. You're my guy.
I'll tell you what. I saw somebody, Jeff. That's you did a good job with that. I'm totally busting on you. I saw a guy in the chat ask about Alec Pierce from. Have you looked
Cincinnati?
From Cincinnati. Have you looked at him at all, Jeff?
I've seen him. I've seen him play live a bunch this year, but no.
Sure. All right. Let me just real quick on Alec Pierce. I like the kid a lot. He's 6'3". He's 208 pounds. And you talk about a quarterback, with Ritter, you're trying to evaluate him. I thought Ritter did a great job of just throwing the ball to a spot and letting him go get it. This guy's got super length. He makes a ton of plays down the field. And his length puts defenders in a really, really bad spot because he's so long that when he goes up, like defenders are like below his arm, like below his wrist, trying to knock the ball away. And so, I mean, I think he shocks defenders of how quick he is off the ball for a guy that's so tall. So,
why do you think that is, Brian?
But so tall or why he's so quick?
Why do you think people would be surprised at him being quick, Brian?
Because he's tall. He's real long.
Oh, okay.
Usually your shorter guys are like really, really, really quick. And he's a longer limb guy, and you wouldn't think, oh, well, he's not very quick. So I kind of would say keep an eye on this guy. But, man, this guy's got some explosive quickness for a really tall guy, and he gets separation down the field. So for the folk there that asked about him, I'm happy to give you a scouting report because I really like the kid a lot. I really do.
R. Webb, can you give me a first-round scenario where if you're Dallas, you would try to trade back? Sure, but that scenario would be my linebackers are gone, Nakobe Dean and Devin Lloyd. My offensive linemen that I would love in the first round are gone, Tyler Linderbaum and Kenyon Green. And the top players available are receivers. Maybe you want to move back there, but you're going to be in a spot where a good player is going to make it to you. You're going to let the league screw up ahead of you. My buddy Vach Lombardi always says teams suck at drafting. So you're going to let some of these suck teams make mistakes, and something good is going to fall in your lap. And you're on a 2-year run of taking advantage of that with CD and Micah Parsons.
Yeah.
Just do it again. Yeah. Do it again. Pick your best player.
The chat's saying I hate weak offensive tackles and Skye Moore. You know what? I don't hate Skye Moore. I do hate weak offensive tackles, but I'll tell you what.
But they keep proving us wrong.
The David Bakhtiaris, the Colton Millers of the world, I have
Nate Solder.
Yeah, I have new respect. And you know what? There are some guys in this draft.
Bernard Raymond.
There's some guys in this draft that don't play really, really strong. So that means if I don't like them, I guarantee you they're going to probably go and play in the league and play a long time. But the weak offensive tackle has proven me wrong the last 3 to 4 years, for sure. I will admit that.
Isaiah says Jeff forever and
Forever.
Khalil Shakir.
Hey, good. Got somebody
ahead.
from Ireland, Jeff. We got somebody from Ireland listening right there. Paul Martin from Ireland.
Thank you to Mark. Thanks to my buddy Will Riggs there, Sons of Bocephus, who's in here. He's helped me out with some graphic stuff. He's a beast. We got Ireland in the building.
Ireland, yeah.
That's what I like. That's my people. Cavanaugh's an Irish name. I'm a descendant of Irish kings. I'm surprised you guys didn't know that. Let me see here. All right, rock and roll. Hey, Bryan, I got bad news for you.
Got to go?
I got to get up to the Red Lion. You know, I'm I'm an hour and a half behind people who are getting down right now, and I'm not getting down right now. So I got to call my Uber and get the hell up there.
Guys,
but yes,
appreciate it.
To my buddy Mark, who's like, yeah, Bryan does all the favors. Yeah, Bryan does a 5-hour show and then hangs out with me because Bryan is a great friend. Bryan is a great mentor, and we kick ass. It's what we do. It's kind of the thing. Hey. Brandon, thank you for the super. Weak OT is palatable. Weak interior line is a no-go. That's kind of a fair point.
I'm sorry, man. I have yet to hit on a weak. If I tell you the guy's weak, he's playing offensive tackle, he's likely to be a Pro Bowl player. Just get ready for it.
All right, Bryan. Anything
I can guarantee you that. Peace, folks. Be safe. Love each other out there, man.
There you go. You have no idea what anybody's going through, so be cool to everyone. I love